Hello, welcome to another episode of Mega Manga Monday. I am Jason Hahn, and today we are talking about One Piece, chapter 1066, officially titled The Will of Ohara. I am Jason Hahn, writer for Screen Rant, and on Mega Manga Mondays we talk about new chapters and anime and all kinds of stuff of the stories we love, and today is no exception. Huge fan of One Piece, and it's been really good so far. But I'm not doing this by myself. I got my buddy Ben with me today, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm Ben. I'm a comics and anime and manga writer for Screen Rant, and One Piece is my favorite manga of all time, so I'm always happy to discuss it.
Yeah, and I know you're not an anime watcher, but I think this is one of the things I forgot to bring up. The last episode was pretty fun. We're on the raid of Onigashima, and we got to see Jinbei versus Who's Who. The first half of the episode was incredibly poorly paced and kind of a waste of time. But
What? A part
right,
of a One Piece episode being poorly paced and a waste of time? I'm shocked.
hence why Ben isn't much of an anime watcher of One Piece.
Yeah.
However, the last couple minutes of the episode is worth checking out because you get to see Jinbei in action like he's never been before, and it was
Oh.
surprisingly brutal and awesome. Like it was kind of one of the advantages I think the anime has over the manga, especially with the raid arc, is they're able to flesh out a lot of the stuff that they were only able to do in a panel or two on the manga. So it's pretty good. But we're not focusing on new One Piece anime today. Just wanted to bring that up. But chapter 1066, another awesome chapter. It made me cry. I'm a huge Robin fan. And who knew? I mean, I'm not sure a lot of people guessed that this arc would be so Robin heavy at this point. Everyone was kind of expecting it to be a Frankie sort of thing, but through Dr. Vegapunk, who has so many narrative threads tied to this one man, I mean, he literally, as soon as he starts talking, like 100 mysteries could be solved from the entire series. But we got some more insight into Robin's home. Her mentor, which Professor Clover, is apparently an archaeologist who sailed the world researching the Void Century. And it was amazing he survived as long as he did because, as it's established in this chapter, pretty much anybody who gets even an inkling of Void Century and this mysterious civilization, advanced civilization of the past, the world government kills them. And now that the Straw Hats know this, they're kind of freaking out, including Usopp and Nami and everybody else. Just kind of upset that they now know this information. But the person who, of course, is not upset by this information and is incredibly happy, Robin, because again. This is one of those instances where you think a One Piece character is dead, and then it's revealed that they're not dead, but I think it worked really well in this chapter. Past, definitely characters in the past like Pell and the Chiffons, the two Whole Cake Island twins. Their dad, I forget his name, but he definitely seemed dead, and then I guess he wasn't. Bon Clay, the list kind of goes on. And now I add that to Saul. Saul the Giant, who helped rescue Robin as a kid away from Ohara, as it was being Buster called, was apparently frozen by Akiji and left to die. But it's been revealed that he actually survived and ended up being the captain of a whole bunch of giants who saved all the missing text that O'Hara had pretty much compiled over the years. As they essentially saved Google of the One Piece world. This has all the information that human beings have compiled, and it's just amazing. It's one of those things, especially as soon as Robin learned that Saul was alive, Oda drew this big, or not even a big panel, but it's big in my heart and in my mind of Robin asking, saying, "Was that captain's name Saul?" And Vegapunk's just like, I can't really tell you, but he kind of confirms it, and just you see Robin just kind of blowed up in emotion and happiness, and just Oda like putting so much happiness and emotion and so little expression and details. It's amazing. I loved it. I really enjoyed this chapter. What did you
Yeah,
think,
it's
Ben?
just oh, I mean, the Robin flashback is like one of the peaks of One Piece. Like, you could argue that it's not the best flashback in the series, that there are better ones. Like Law's flashback often gets thrown around,
You mean
but
just like heartbreaking backstories?
oh yeah, heartbreaking. I mean, they're all heartbreaking, but Robin's is like, I mean, the fact that it dictates so much of her like way of living throughout so much of her life and has had such an influence on her makes it loom larger than a lot of other flashbacks in the series, I think. Not to say that those don't show how, Straw Hats are affected by their past and stuff, but like Robin's whole like niche, her whole reason for being is dictated by her childhood. And it's just she suffered so much, and the few friends she had were taken away from her, which caused her to not want to grow close to anyone else. And now we find out that one of those few friends is still alive, and that we may indeed be meeting up with them again. And it's just, so good. And just seeing how it affects her, like you said, it's just, it's so good. And, it also is nice because I feel like Jaguar D Sol is one of the few sort of people with the D in their name that I was like, well, I guess they're important for Robin, but what did they do to like deserve the name of D, right? Like normally the will of D is for major figures in the world who are doing a ton of stuff, but what did Saul do? He helped out a young girl, but I don't know. It didn't really seem like he did much. And now we found out that he is doing a lot, and he's actually a major player. So it also makes that D name there a bit better in retrospect as well.
I'm not sure
But
if I knew he was a D. I didn't know his name was
oh yeah,
Jaguar either. That's awesome. That's a pretty sweet name.
yeah. I'm pretty sure his name's Jaguar D Sol. But I know that he carries the will of D as well, and it's just awesome to see. And it's just I can't wait for us to reach Elbaf.
Yeah, it just
We're
seems
loving
it seems
having
inevitable at this point.
it is, and it's been inevitable for a long time. Like people have pointed out that Usopp's been wanting to go to Elbaf for a long time, and we received hints of a bit of what Elbaf is like from Big Mom's flashback, things like that. But now it's just like another piece of the puzzle is popping up on Elbaf, and it's just gonna be so nice when we finally reach it. And that, we're saying this as like this island has been great. Egghead has been insanely good.
Oh yeah.
And it's delivered on so much of what fans have been wanting to see for years and years and years. And it's crazy that even in an arc as good as this, it can be like, well, yeah, but like, what about the next arc? Like,
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what the next arc is. So it's just one of those masterful things that One Piece can do, where it effortlessly sets up future events and gets you excited for future things while also just being awesome on their own in the moment. So
Yeah, I mean
it's a
we've been doing the podcast long enough now where I remember us kind of complaining about that with Wano. I mean, I remember like enjoying Wano, but I was like, oh man, I'm just anxious for this to end so we can see what else is going on in the world. I would have never have believed, well, yeah, the next arc is just going to answer so many things and open so many things up. It feels like we were with Wano so long that all of this just feels like a treat. Like every chapter has been delivering just huge revelations, and I almost think that because Wano was so long and because Wano was what it was, it's almost accentuated this arc. Like it just feels like we were so focused on helping the people of Wano and all kinds of punch battling, and this has been, a lot less punch battling, but it's just earth-shattering reveal after reveal, and it's all coming together and tying up things that we've been wondering about for a very long time. It's just incredibly satisfying.
Oh yeah. Like I mean, and I think that there's still going to be a chapter next week. I don't think, yeah, or this weekend. Yeah, there's still going to be a chapter
Yes.
this week, and so and you know how Oda loves to save the best for last with these cliffhangers right before the breaks. So I can't even imagine what the next chapter is going to end on.
You know what?
Like,
I've been the fan sub came out the yesterday, I think, and I'm incredibly tempted to read it, but I didn't want to read ahead before we did our podcast because then it'd be a little tough for me to be like, oh yeah, who knows what will happen next? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But I will probably read that as soon as we finish talking about this one.
I'm just gonna wait. Like,
Yeah,
I just I don't know. I've gotten used to waiting for these sorts of things.
yeah.
Like the Hunter x Hunter hiatus that's finally getting rewarded with new chapters now, and it's just manga's just a waiting game. Gotta wait for the series to keep going.
Yeah. Speaking of waiting game, we finally got to see Vegapunk, and I think he's disgusting. I,
He's great.
I think his
He's
head.
Einstein.
Yeah, no, that's great. I like the face. The tongue thing is hilarious. I like all the designs except everything above his eyebrows. I think it needs to be blurred out. I didn't
The
think
apple.
Japanese people were able to show genitals, because his head looks like just a giant scrotum.
Oh,
In
it's a heart.
in my a heart.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll start telling my brain that, and maybe it'll be less disturbed every time I see past Vegapunk. Um, but it's a great segue into the end of this chapter. We're not jumping ahead 100%. We'll definitely be talking about the other stuff in the chapter too. But just staying on Vegapunk here. We've been kind of throwing around a couple theories on the other six Vegapunks. We were wondering if he was going to still be like just a floating brain in a vat, sort of controlling all these other ones. But I'm almost thinking that, especially with us finding like the original Vegapunk's body, and he just seems to be this like buffoon, that he like removed chunks of his brain and put them each into one of the Vegapunks is my theory.
Yeah.
And
No,
one
that's
of
what I'm
them,
thinking too.
yeah, and like one of them, each one of them like represents, like the section of the brain that, excels and blah blah blah. That seems to be the way that they're doing, and I'm sure that we'll have it more accentuated. But I'm almost wondering if that might be the reason that Shaka is masked. What if Shaka isn't really a Vegapunk?
I mean, I guess it's possible, but I mean, I'm believing that he's a Vegapunk until there's definitive proof otherwise. But because the other Vegapunks all acknowledge Shaka as a Vegapunk, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that wouldn't really quite make sense if it weren't a Vegapunk. But yeah, I definitely agree with the removing the brain theory because we see, his head kind of opens up in the end, and doesn't look like there's anything there. I love that. I love that. Oda went for the obvious Einstein picture reference for Vegapunk's like face and stuff. Then he added a Newton reference with the apple on the head. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's just very sort of fun conglomeration of a couple different scientists. Um, so I really like Vegapunk's design. I know that the tongue is a bit off-putting for some people, but
See,
I'm sure that tongue has a tragic backstory as well. Uh,
well, I'm curious to see how the anime is going to adapt it. I'm wondering if the voice actor is just going to. I think
it
that
could be.
I think that'd be pretty fun.
One thing I noticed in the translation, and I don't know if this was just a quirk of how they were translating it or something, or if it was actually like this in the original, but when he's first talking to Dragon, you see that his like speech is sort of split up in each speech bubble, which was kind of interesting. And I wonder if that's related to anything, but
Possibly. Yeah, we did kind
Yeah,
of
so
just
maybe
that
that.
just happened, and then the next chapter just didn't keep going with that.
Yeah, then it was normal. So maybe it's not the tongue affecting how that's laid out. Maybe it's just he's speaking a lot, so they laid it out that way. But it's kind of interesting. You don't normally see that in a manga panel. To be fair, there's also the translator had to translate a lot this week, like a lot of text.
Yes.
Not as
Yeah.
much as Hunter x Hunter this week, but still a lot.
Oh, really? Was that another novel that came out today?
Yeah, it was a bit. The Hunter x Hunter chapter that came out this week was a bit controversial for introducing some new characters and also just being mostly text. I still enjoyed it, but unfortunately, this is not a Hunter x Hunter podcast. We don't have one of those, uh,
No,
which is sad.
let us know in the comments. Yeah, I know we got Ben and I don't know if Steven was up for it, but let us know.
Steven is. I'm not sure Steven's up to date on the chapters,
Oh,
but he
okay.
could easily become up to date on the chapters.
True. Let us know in the comments if you'd like to like a Hunter x Hunter podcast for Manga Monday, because we shall deliver what the fans request. So
Oh
let
man,
us know.
I've got so much to say about Hunter x Hunter's return, but this is One Piece, and there's enough to say about this chapter as is.
Yes, a tale packed with romance and mystery.
As Frankie puts it, yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed everyone kind of giving their 2 cents into the story that Vegapunk is delivering. And Frankie's the only one who's just like, awesome! This is so interesting and cool. He's
I,
like a fan reading all of this.
I also find it funny that Usopp and Nami are so distraught about it, like you mentioned earlier, because Usopp was the Soga King, I guess, was the one who burned down the world government flag. Like they're already targets for elimination,
Hmm.
uh, so it doesn't really affect them that much. But I guess given Im-sama's ability to just erase islands
Yeah.
like meteors, it makes sense.
But yeah, it is pretty weird. I think as I was reading, I was just like, "Why are you all reacting like this crazy?" Because you've seen some pretty crazy things on your adventures. Just the idea that there was an advanced civilization a long time ago shouldn't be this surprising to you. I think, Fishman Island is probably more surprising than that, personally. But I
Fishman Island doesn't hold existential threats, I guess. So,
yeah, that's true.
uh,
But yeah, I've got my note here. Vegapunk's head looks like a ball sack. Yep, we talked about that. Um, so the books and all the ancient history is apparently in Elbath with the giants, or at least they were 22 years ago. Because that's when we got a little bit of a flashback of Vegapunk talking to Dragon. We
pre-tattoo.
pre-tattoo and also pre-Luffy. I still have the theory that Ivankov could be Luffy's mom.
Is
And
this pre-Luffy? Do we know?
I think it is because I'm not 100% sure on ages, but I think Luffy set out when he was like 16, 17, and then 3 year skip. So I think this was like right before Luffy.
Okay, because it's post Robin. So,
Yeah, but
and I
Rob,
know Robin's older than Luffy, but
yeah, I think by like 10 years. So,
like 10 years, so I could check out. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that someone has a full One Piece timeline out there that
yeah,
they're like uh frantically updating here.
right,
But
right. Uh, so yeah, there's the popular theories that Crocodile or even Cough could be Luffy's mom. Which
yeah.
I think would be hilarious, and I think that would be pretty great of Oda to drop that in there.
Well, Oda has said, people have asked about Luffy's mom repeatedly, and Oda has said things along the line of, well, no, of course I'm not going to put Luffy's mom in because moms always stop their kids from going on fun adventures. So,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna put her in.
Which makes me
So,
think that it could be Im Sama.
oh yeah, I have seen theories that Eve is a woman, um, and so maybe,
Yeah, I don't know.
star-crossed romance between the leader of the Revolutionary Army and the shadow ruler of the world government. Uh,
Yeah, there's also
could
the
be.
theory that I like too that she has, she's been long past. But I like the idea that I've heard that she is actually Garp's child and Dragon is not Garp's child. And then that kind of
Ah,
there's
I,
all kinds of parentage things there. There's a lot of theories out there.
I don't know. I like the idea that Garp is Dragon's father because uh, Garp is sort of said like when raising Ace and Luffy, he's like, I want to prevent you two from going down the same path, right? As Dragon, presumably.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think that makes more sense if it's Dragon instead of like someone else. But
Well,
I, I,
oh, go ahead.
I mean, yeah. But I don't know. Regardless of that, it seems like we are getting progressively more information on Dragon,
Yeah.
which he's been one of the most mysterious figures. I mean, same with Vegapunk, but Dragon has been one of the most mysterious figures in One Piece for as long as anyone can remember. So it's pretty nice finally learning more and more. And it seems like they will get involved at some point soon. Seems like the Kuma flashback is coming this arc because there's so much build up to that. Bonnie's here. Vegapunk knows what happened to Kuma, all that stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, and I mean, we've got to get the Revolutionary Army in the main story
Somehow,
soon,
yeah.
and this is a perfect lead into that, I think.
Well, yeah, especially like it was established that Dragon quickly he formed the Revolutionary Army with Kuma and Ivankov, um, pretty much right after O'Hara, which I think is really interesting. That Robin's whole backstory is what triggered Dragon's like. I mean, he already had like he wanted to build a military force to challenge the world government and stuff, but it was after the destruction of O'Hara that things really got kicked off for the Revolutionary Army, which kind of brought up another weird thing. I thought like Robin spent the time skip with the Revolutionary Army and supposedly spent some time with Dragon. I think it would have been really weird that he didn't bring up Clover back when she spent that time with them. Like she even said, yeah, there's a I think it's like page 13. I'm looking at it. Dragon and Professor Clover had a connection too. Like you should have definitely known about that.
I don't know. Dragon seems like a very taciturn sort of guy, and you might not want to dwell in the past or open old wounds. So I
Mm,
could definitely see it. I mean, again, we know so little about Dragon that who can really say what his motivations are for things? But I mean, I believe it. I also think we don't know how much Robin interacted with Dragon, even if they interacted a bit. Um, so that will remain to see. Like, I mean, I think when the Revolutionary Army gets involved in the current storyline, we'll see more of that and see how they interact. But I think that's fine personally.
didn't bug you. Um,
Yeah.
well, yeah. It was so. Also, Vegapunk apparently has been going back and forth from Elbaf to this to Egghead. Apparently, um, so that's kind of giving us ammo that Elbaf might be pretty close. It seems more and more apparent that that might be the next place they're going to go to. Um, but really, I mean, the we're just getting more information on Elbath, but why do we need the Straw Hats to go to Elbath other than, um, if they find out that the road poneglyph might be there? Um, Obviously, all the world's knowledge is all there too. But I would be surprised. They were able to keep it secret, but apparently all the knowledge is in Shaka's helmet or head. The only reason that they cover the face, I think, it looks cool, of course. I think we've got some sort of secret reveal or something going on there, which is
Could just
why,
be like a pulsing brain or something.
yeah, yeah, like that part of the brain keeps growing, maybe. But yeah, so apparently he's got all that information there. He probably even knows where the last road poneglyph is. I would be, interested to hear like Vegapunk might even know what the One Piece is, but he probably just has never really had any desire for it. But yeah, just at this point, like Vegapunk could know everything, and he apparently does, especially after going back and forth from Elbaf and memorizing all of the books that Saul let him read. But if something bad happens to Shaka, or if he ends up not being the good guy that we're led to believe he might be, yeah, Straw Hat's got to go to Elbath to uncover all this information. Otherwise, he could just deliver all the information to them. I don't know. The story could go in so many places right now.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what sort of twists and turns it takes from here.
Yeah, because we know
But
that Sword is on the way, and yeah, I of course wanted I think the Bonnie situation is about to escalate with
TP
Vegapunk.
Zero's on the way as well.
Yeah, so yeah, I think things might be blowing up pretty soon. Because I mean, especially now that we've been introduced to all the Vegapunks, including the original Vegapunk. Um, why do you think he was stuck in the robot too? We don't know. I almost wonder if the rest of the Vegapunks are like embarrassed by this original Vegapunk. Maybe he put too much of his brain in the other ones, so all that's left is like the careless, goofy uh, one that is always requiring help.
Yeah. And I wonder too if the Rayquaza thing is a hint as to what sort of um, personality he has. Like, it could just be an attempt to use big words to try and seem smart because he wants to still feel like he's smart, but Rayquaza obviously isn't a real word. So
It is
it's
now.
just
And
yeah, that's true.
if you try using it in the normal world, I'm sure everyone will know what you're talking about. Um, so yeah, so many things can happen now, and some of it might not happen. But um, yeah, just pretty excited. I'm very excited to read the fan sub after we finish talking here. But yeah, I don't know. Even if CP0 shows up, I feel like most of the Straw Hats would be able to handle them pretty well. So I'm almost thinking that something else bad has got to happen with the island. Maybe the Seraphim will go crazy. I'm almost thinking that we still have that. We still have this. We're not sure if we're supposed to trust Vegapunk or not. Because the way that Oda has written him and all the dialogue so far, like he still just feels really neutral, even when delivering like the news that Saul might still be alive. He doesn't even necessarily full out say it. He just kind of casually says, "Oh, I can neither confirm nor deny," that sort of thing. But I almost wonder if like some of the Vegapunks are going to become enemies, and some of the Vegapunks might not become enemies. And it could almost
Yeah,
become like a civil war on Egghead.
yeah, I could see that being a direction that it goes. But honestly, I mean, you know, we're 1,066 chapters into One Piece. We've seen enough of these arcs over and over again that we are confident that Oda can do whatever he wants to and make it seem compelling and fun and all that stuff. So honestly, the nice thing about One Piece is we can just enjoy the journey, right? I think these chapters are exemplifying that. I think most other series, if they tried to just have a bunch of chapters where there wasn't a clear sort of like conflict or enemy or something like that, and it was just largely like talking about some lore related things, I think that those would be seen as like kind of boring and like, oh well, this is a necessary evil, I guess, to expand the world a bit more and maybe set some things up down the line. But overall, it's not what we're here for. One Piece, it kind of is what we're here for. So honestly, like even if there's no conflict on Egghead Island and they just visit here, meet a bunch of Vegapunks, chill out for a bit, and then like leave to go to Elbaf, that would still be a great arc because,
Yeah.
as we've seen so far, it's already a great arc. So it's very unlikely it's going to happen that way. There probably will be some conflict, as Luffy and Co have already come into conflict with one of the pacifista. But I mean, the great thing is that no matter what happens, we're gonna probably enjoy it, and there's a comfort in that. So, and it's something that One Piece has earned, I think,
Oh
over the
yeah.
course of its very long run.
I agree, and it's kind of it's gonna be enjoyable. It's just what do you do after Luffy and Co defeat the strongest creature in the world? Like, just having another like big bad on this island would be kind of boring. So, I'm
Well,
kind of glad that
the
we have all these different factions kind of going on, and uh, yeah, I'm almost thinking if CP0 shows up at the different part of the island and as soon as Luffy shows up, he just flashes his hockey at him, then it might scare everybody to go away.
well, the great thing about having Kaido be defeated in Wano as the sort of strongest creature in the world is that now Oda can focus on other sorts of threats. And that is very exciting. And I think that this island will probably exemplify that sort of thing. Blackbeard, of course, is the ultimate version of this because Blackbeard is not very physically strong, but he is very cunning. And we know that Blackbeard's going to be a big villain later on. And he's a nice contrast to Luffy, who is not very cunning. Luffy's very straightforward and things like that. So I think it's a really smart move that Oda did having the Straw Hats defeat Kaido because, yes, it means that they can take down any enemy physically, but there are other sorts of threats that are way more interesting, and One Piece is definitely going to lean into those in the future. So I'm excited to see more of this, and I know that, I trust Oda. Oda's got everything under control.
Absolutely, and I don't know. That's kind of a ballsy prediction there. You think Blackbeard? I think Law is going to beat Blackbeard and his whole crew.
It could be. And then, I mean, Blackbeard could come into conflict with Luffy in other ways or something. But, you know,
That would be very interesting if
it
he
would.
has the whole
And
Blackbeard crew lose, and then they like go to jail, and then that jail is where the final conflict happens, and they break out of jail. Like, oh, that could be cool. It'd be kind of a very
Blackbeard getting his
misdirect.
own Impel Down arc would be very interesting. Uh,
And he was even in Impel Down.
he was, yeah. Maybe Luffy will show up at the end and ally with the big poison guy, whatever his name was. Um,
Oh man, I see his face, but the warden,
yeah,
yeah, no, he had belly issues.
he
That's
did.
definitely
Yes.
what I remember. um, well, yeah, that could be great. But yeah, just excited for next chapter and to see where everything goes from here. Um, are there any like predictions or anything that you're really hoping that they dive into in the next chapter?
Uh, f- Honestly, I mean, I want to see Kuma's backstory. I think we could be getting it soon, or next chapter might have a cliffhanger that sort of leads into Kuma's backstory, because the Apple Vegapunk, recognizes Bonnie and is like, "Oh, how much have you grown?" So maybe in interrogating him, he'll be like, "Oh, I remember when your father did this, this, this," and then that goes into that backstory. But I mean, honestly, who can predict what's going to happen in this arc?
Yeah.
There's just been revelation after revelation, twist after turn. Oh, it's just peak One Piece.
I agree, and I think so too. I think we might be getting some more information on Kuma. I think it'd be kind of interesting if she's like demanding answers and Vegapunk's just like, oh well, pretty much all the evil things I've done are in Lilith, so you'll have to ask Lilith, or something like that.
And I can see that being a perfectly valid approach as well. Like I think that could happen too.
But then, yeah, we'll have to see if Bonnie like takes out her rage on this Vegapunk. Um, I'm not sure, like if Chopper and Luffy would just let her, beat the crap out of this old guy or not, because their relationship is still kind of developing, I guess is the best way to put it. But speaking of Vegapunk bringing things up, he dropped Dragon's name in front of Luffy, and almost the next panel, Luffy continues to not give a crap, and because Vegapunk starts floating, and instead of being like, "My dad, my dad," he's just like, "Whoa, he's floating! This is so cool!" Like,
Well,
I love the like constant gag that like Luffy just could not care any less about like his parentage or his parents.
it's just so perfect for Luffy. And it's what makes him so unique, right? Like, I mean, I think Luffy is the best protagonist of the big three, uh, because he's just so interesting. Like, he's a character you don't see often in these sorts of stories, and that's part of what makes him compelling. And it's just a joy to see him react like this, just like you said. Or the running gag is just so funny. He's like, "Oh yeah, yeah. My brother's Ace, Fire Fist Ace, who's this big shot pirate. Oh yeah, my dad's Dragon, the revolutionary leader. Yeah.
Yeah.
What of it? I, you didn't know? Uh,
Well, I think when it was even first revealed, I think it was after Water 7 and Garp just shows up and he's just like, "My dad? I have a dad?" Like something along those lines. Like Luffy's just never thought about it. It's just he doesn't dwell on the past, it seems.
yeah, no, and that's what's so refreshing about him. Like, I mean, say what you will for like Naruto or Ichigo or whatever, but, like, Naruto's got to get over the trauma of his childhood, man. I don't know. He just keeps going on about how lonely he was. Luffy doesn't care. Luffy just keeps going.
Yeah, you would think like especially like Naruto got enough friends. Quit whining about it, man.
Exactly, right? Oh,
I'm the biggest Naruto fan, so I am being sarcastic. I could talk about
I'm
it for a
also
while,
being
but
sarcastic, even though I'm less of a Naruto fan than Jason is. But uh, yeah, no, it's just refreshing because in so many of these shonen series, protagonist has that sort of tragic backstory, like Naruto, and has that sort of like. I feel like a lot of protagonists take more after Naruto than Luffy, is what I'll say.
for sure.
Um,
And
for
it
sure.
definitely helps Luffy stand out like on his own as an MC so much, and I think it's why so many people enjoy it so much. Like my anytime I have my little guy watch some One Piece, like his attention kind of waves, but as soon as like Luffy's on the screen, he is glued to it because Luffy is just so enjoyable,
Yeah, and
enjoyable to
it's
watch.
interesting. It's interesting too because you ask random people who are fans, like, "Who's your favorite Straw Hat?" Right? The go-to answer is generally Luffy.
Hmm.
And if you ask people like, "Oh, who's your favorite Konoha ninja?" Right? Well, I mean, I guess they'd say like Kakashi or something.
Yeah,
But if you ask them like, "Who's your favorite like ninja in Naruto's generation?" Right? Like they might say Sasuke, or they'd say
Rock Lee.
Rock Lee, yeah, like a side character or something. Uh, and it's not like that for One Piece. Like Luffy is the driving force of everything, and he's what keeps people checking back in on the series. So,
True, very
among
true.
other things, but uh,
Well, among other things, we will definitely be talking about, among other things, next week when the 1067 comes out. So look forward to that. But any more thoughts on One Piece 1066 before we go into plugs and recommendations, buddy?
now I'm just the best One Piece has been in years, and that's saying something because One Piece has been pretty great for the past couple of years. So. Uh,
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
totally.
just excited to see the next one.
Same here, man. Yeah, we'll see how long we stay on Egghead, because I mean, it seems like every chapter or two we keep on getting teased about Elbath or the bigger things that are going on. Um, but I almost think that we have everything pretty well established on Egghead, so I'm thinking things might be ramping up in the next chapter or two. But as you said, we're not on break next week, but I think we're on break the week after that. Um,
Mhm.
so we'll most likely be getting a huge cliffhanger next chapter, and can't wait. Um, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed our Mega Manga Mondays chat on One Piece. I hope you'll find us on Twitter or YouTube. Please subscribe and let us know if there's anything that you thought we missed in this One Piece chat, or any revelations that you would like to bring up. Would love to hear your thoughts. So please let us know. But I, Jason Hahn, writer for ScreenRant.com, would love it if you checked out my stuff on Screen Rant. And I have another YouTube series called Honzy and Friends. I like to stream on Wednesdays and Sundays, and have some comedic Let's Play videos coming out very soon. Me and one of my good buddies, we create a lot of laughs together. We're usually belly aching by the end of some videos. But we have some new episodes of Metal Gear Solid 2 coming out, and we found one of the best Dragon Ball games ever made, and we're playing one of those. So find out what I'm talking about on Honzy and Friends on YouTube. Ben, any plugs or recommendations, man?
Yeah, in terms of recommendations, a book called The Lost Metal came out this week by Brandon Sanderson, which is the final book in Mistborn Era 2, which is one of the series set in the sort of shared universe of the Cosmere. And if all this sounds complicated, just know that the Cosmere is basically like the MCU of books, and Sanderson, the author, Brandon Sanderson, is basically like the Oda of fantasy novels.
Wow,
So, yeah,
those are some
he's
big terms,
very, very
or
good.
big words.
Yeah, no, he's very good at foreshadowing, very good at world building, setting up all these different things and making you want to dive more into the lore. And the Lost Metal very much felt a lot like this current arc is feeling, where we get to see a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes that we don't normally get to see. We get a lot of questions answered that we've been waiting on for years. So now is the perfect time to dive in to the Cosmere books if that's something that it might appeal to you. And if you're listening to this One Piece podcast, I think that it probably will. So I'd say the best place to start is probably with the first Mistborn trilogy, which is just very, very good. And then you can sort of look up where to go from there. But, no matter where you start, it's just a great series, a joy to read, and there's tons of it out there. Like One Piece, there's tons of it out there, and he's very consistent with releasing chapters, or not chapters, but books. So, check that out if that's interesting to you. And in terms of plugs, I have a YouTube channel of my own called Why Do You Go From Zero, where I go over historical formats of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. So if that's something that appeals to you, be sure to check that out as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to have our links and recommendations in the description, so please check those out. Would really appreciate it if you checked out our other projects that we put a lot of work into. And that series sounds really interesting.
Oh yeah,
I
no,
might have
it's
to shoot that recommendation to some people who are a lot more heavy readers than I am, but I'm kind of tempted to check that out myself.
you should. They're very, very good, and I can help you with a good entry point. So yeah, they're a blast to read, and anyone who likes One Piece, I think, will like Sanderson. But
Awesome.
it is a different format, so if you don't like reading all text, no pictures, then
Do they have a picture book version?
they do actually. Some of the books do have art throughout them that is important, but
Oh,
it's
cool.
still a lot of prose. So
Well, and I've seen kind of a happy medium. Like I've seen a lot of the Dark Tower books have been converted into graphic novels, which I think is a pretty cool idea with some things. But
yeah,
uh,
there is a graphic novel trilogy set in the Cosmere called White Sand, which I guess you could start with that, but it's not the best starting point, I'd say.
okay, okay. Well, thanks for the recommendations, and thank you for your time today, Ben. Had a blast talking
No.
One Piece with you, and I look forward to the next one.
Yeah. See y'all next time.
Peace.